Well, Premier Oscar Mabuyane, thank you for those kind words of welcome. Members of the Executive Council of the Eastern Cape, the leadership of the provincial government, senior officials, leadership of our local government, mayors, executive mayors, and others, deputy ministers, as I've heard that some deputy ministers are in your midst, including possibly some ministers and colleagues. Premier, thank you very much for the invitation to address this Executive EXCO Lekgotla of 2021. This is the first time I've been given the opportunity to do so, and it feels like a promotion. I just this morning feel like I've been promoted into a higher position. So thank you so much for getting me to start my very long and busy day at a high point. We're going through an immensely difficult time for our country. And you could say, possibly in the history of South Africa, we've never gone through as difficult a time as we are going through now. Particularly as we grapple with the impact of COVID-19 and the resulting economic fallout. Our immediate and most pressing priority as all of government, from national, provincial, and local, should be to save lives. We remain firmly committed to rolling out a rapid and comprehensive vaccination program that will provide immunity to at least 40 million of our citizens. I would like to see more than 40 being covered in this vaccination program, but I'll go with the calculations of the scientists and still hope for more. You will be aware of the results of a study that were released yesterday into the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine. They were released day before yesterday. The vaccine that we procured from the Serum Institute of India against the new strain of the disease. And as it turns out, the new strain of the disease was first seen by our scientists here in the Eastern Cape. As the Minister of Health, Dr. Mkhize, has indicated, this will affect the design and the phasing of our vaccination rollout. In the light of these new developments, he has tasked our scientists to develop a proposal on how we can effectively vaccinate our population in the shortest possible time. We welcome the participation of the Eastern Cape in the planning of the vaccination program and the work that you have undertaken to get all systems, structures, and facilities ready for the rollout of this program. Our success will ultimately rest on the cooperation and collaboration of all spheres of government and all public entities. We should bear in mind that this is going to be the biggest program that we have ever embarked upon in our country, to go out and reach more than 40 million people at more or less a set time, not over many years, but a fairly short space of time. It's never been done before, and I'm glad that you've already put in place plans that are going to result in having an effective rollout system. And I'd like you to keep looking at those plans and panel beating them into good shape as we move on. Now, COVID-19 has had a dramatic impact on the lives and livelihoods of our people all over the country and also in the Eastern Cape. I want to congratulate the provincial leadership under your leadership, Premier Oscar Mabuyane, for its sterling efforts since the very onset of the epidemic. It is thanks to the collective efforts of all spheres of government and the cooperation of our people that the rate of infections in this second wave continues to slow and the recovery rate continues to increase. At the same time, we know we must forever be vigilant. But it was also in the Eastern Cape where we saw the second wave tapering down. We saw early signs of it, and you, Premier, spoke to me about it, and we saw you speak about it more publicly. And it was due to the efforts and the work that you put in place that we saw this downturn. We need to continue to drive the public health messaging around social distancing, mask wearing, and hand sanitizing, which still remain our best defenses against COVID-19. The economic impact of the pandemic has been severe. The measures put in place for public health have constrained activity in a number of economic sectors, resulting in job losses and loss of income. We have had to put support and relief measures in place to help poor households, workers, as well as companies. Through the various measures contained in our 500 billion rand social and economic relief package, we've managed over the last 9 months to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on our economy and on our people. We have now moved from the relief phase of our economic response to the recovery phase. Our priority now is to implement the economic reconstruction and recovery plan that I announced in October last year. The challenge before us is an immense one. We have to rebuild the economy and create jobs, even in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. COVID-19 has severely set back a number of our developmental priorities and projects. We have had to urgently divert resources to fighting the pandemic. And as you well know, fighting the pandemic has required us to mobilize enormous resources, billions and billions of rands, to a point where we even had to go and borrow money outside our country. As a result, a number of other programs have had to be put on hold or scaled back. The Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan is a focused program of actions to restore economic activity, to drive growth, and to create jobs. That is the real focus of our plan. And to ensure it is successfully implemented, we need to come up with practical actions and tasks that are tangible as well as focused. In this regard, I'm pleased to note that the Eastern Cape already has clear and demonstrable plans to build on the substantial endowments what Providence has given us in the Eastern Cape that exists here to create economic opportunities. The provincial government has declared the years 2020 to 2024 as the era of job creation and socio-economic development and is actively working to build a more inclusive and transformative economy. Your quest to expand areas of economic activity beyond the urban centers of Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City is very much aligned to the aspirations of the district development model. This, as you will recall, is a model that we launched in the Eastern Cape in 2019. At the heart of the district development model are local and provincial governments driving programs that bring both development and economic opportunity to where our people live. This district development model was not only about the integration that we want to see in government, as government works across the three spheres, but it is also about integrating our people in the workings of government, so that it must be a government of and for the people, where the people themselves have a sense that they are themselves involved. This is particularly important in a province that has high unemployment and even higher youth unemployment. The unfortunate result of this is that large swaths of the economically active population are continuously leaving the province to find work in the Eastern Cape and in Gauteng. As the provincial leadership working with national government, we need to reverse these migration patterns by deliberately investing in the Eastern Cape so that it becomes a center of work and economic opportunity, but we must quickly turn it into a beacon of hope. This is an extremely well-endowed province in terms of natural resources, such as your 700 or 800 stretch of the ocean and waterways, fertile land, and more importantly, human capital. The Eastern Cape is renowned for its natural beauty and its diverse ecosystems that continue to be tourist attractions. The province also has its rich historical legacy. This is also the province where the country's automotive manufacturing sector is headquartered. But this is also where our pharmaceutical manufacturing is also happening here in this province. Soon we're going to be manufacturing the vaccines that are going to restore the lives of hundreds of millions of people on our continent and the rest of the world. And I look forward to coming to the Eastern Cape as the first rollout of those vaccines start to happen. I told the Premier. The Eastern Cape also has the country's deepest container port at Ngqura. And I'm particularly proud that the Ngqura agency that runs the port and the SEZ has proven itself to be phenomenally capable, to a point where that entity is now not only running and developing ports in Ngqura, the port of Ngqura, but also in the rest of the country, and SEZ as well as other countries. We are now exporting intellectual capital of an economic nature from the Eastern Cape. Among the many responsibilities this EXCO is charged with is to develop a strategic approach to harnessing these various endowments for economic benefit for the people of the Eastern Cape. Then this must be made a priority. It is on your shoulders and your hands that the responsibility rests to drive the programs of economic transformation that will better the lives of the citizens of this province. That will also especially better the lives of the traditionally marginalized groups like women, young people, people who live in the rural areas, and people with disabilities. This Lekgotla must come up with concrete and tangible proposals to attract development and investment in sectors that leverage the endowments of the province. This is, colleagues, the time when we now need to look at what we have as endowments and look at how we can build on those endowments to reach higher levels of excellence, higher levels of development, and higher levels of growth. Instead of continuing to beat ourselves with some of our own incapabilities, our own failures, we should raise our gaze beyond the horizon, up into the stars, and rely on our endowments and much more. One notes, for example, that the province's agricultural economic transformation strategy is being implemented to boost economic activity. Besides crop and livestock production, vast potential exists for the cultivation of products such as cannabis and for the dairy products, but also great livestock like cattle, or beef rather, and sheep. I've always told the Premier that as a farmer, I always find that the best cattle that I get are from the Eastern Cape. But much more than that, the Eastern Cape must also be a key driver of the ocean's economy. There's been work done to develop the Oceans Economy Master Plan, and I want to congratulate the EXCO for approving it for implementation. We're told this plan is expected to inject a projected 10.4 billion rand into the provincial economy and create about 33,000 jobs after the first 5 years of its implementation. Infrastructure development also has great potential for the province, and the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan outlines the catalytic projects that must be rolled out in this province, particularly the road infrastructure. I've been in discussion with the Premier on the other project that continues to be a sore thumb in the life of the people of the Eastern Cape, which is the Umzimvubu Dam. That is a project that must still be embarked upon. The special economic zone model is critical to unlocking private sector investment. It is worthy that the province's 2 SEZs received investment commitments to the value of 2.6 billion last year, but I want much more than that, just the 2.6 billion. And I'm particularly pleased that Dr. Ramaphosa is there with you today, because through him, we will be able to find ways of unlocking more. The bulk, I'm told, of this investment is in factories that will service the automotive sector, It is encouraging to note that the province is also in talks with Transnet to increase the capacity of the Johannesburg-Port Elizabeth rail line so that manufacturers can export their cars through Port Elizabeth. Now, Ngqura participated very, very actively as it helped to set up the Ngqura Authority, to set up the Tshwane SEZ. And that cooperation is so important because we see it linking Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay. And even as we talk to Transnet, we should be doing it on a cooperative basis because that linkage is going to be of great benefit to both provinces. Promising work is also being done to develop small-scale manufacturing in industrial parks. This is an area where we need to see more and more activity. Overcoming poverty and underdevelopment is a key aspiration of our National Development Plan. We must work with urgency to overcome the service delivery backlogs that are so negatively impacting our people's lives, whether it is in healthcare, education, or basic services. There must be consequence management for municipalities that fail to deliver services, matched by remedial action. And if there is an area of great weakness in our governance architecture, it is at the local government level. And I know that the Eastern Cape, also like other provinces, faces enormous challenges when it comes to having effective local government structures. And colleagues, I would like to suggest that the Lekgotla must also be focused on that. And some of the problems are political problems that are given rise to by differences that emanate from the political structures that we have in our governing party. These must be resolved. And we must also have the courage to deploy capable people in those structures. And we must also have the courage to have consequence management being the order of the day. Because if we do not do that, we are doing a disservice to the people. Let us now focus more on serving our people, delivering to our people, and putting our own personal interests on the side. At this difficult time, when poverty is likely to deepen as a result of the pandemic, we have to demonstrate that we are a caring, professional government accountable to the people that we serve. Poverty alleviation programs will need to be stepped up, and creative and innovative measures need to be conceptualized by this Lekgotla. And they always say, necessity is the mother of invention. Now that we are in this very trying and testing period, that is when we need to come up with innovative ideas of how to tackle some of the challenges that we face. The reality is that our country's financial position is extremely tenuous, and we simply do not have the funds and the means to roll out massive new initiatives. We have to work with what we have and also work and live within our means, all the while meeting our commitments to our people. We must address with urgency the impediments that stand not only in the way of attracting new investment, but that are also hampering our national service delivery program. Like many other provinces in the country, the Eastern Cape is experiencing serious issues, as I said, governance level in local municipalities. Fulfilling our electoral mandate to our people necessitates that we address these challenges. These are reflected in the audit outcomes, poor ones, lack of capacity in municipal offices, corruption, maladministration, poor oversight, and underfunded budgets. The province must work with the project management unit that has been established at COCTA, supported by the provincial treasury, to look into these systemic challenges and resolve them. It is our expectation that this Lekgotla will provide the solid and courageous leadership to the province that is needed at this difficult time of our country. We want big ideas, big, bold, and even scary ideas, like the proposed smart city at Port St. John's. I recall at one of our Lekgotlas I spoke about how we as a nation should now advance towards shedding the apartheid special architecture and build new cities. A number of people laughed at the idea, they scoffed at it. I'm so pleased that the Eastern Cape has started embracing the notion that yes, an area, a well-endowed area like Port St. John's should be an area where we have a smart city. But we also want the granular detail of how we plan to make an impact in every village, town, city, and district. Because even as we embark on these big, hairy projects, it should never mean that our small towns, our rural areas are abandoned. What we need is to turn words into actions and commitments into reality. As I said at the National Cabinet Lekgotla, our response to this crisis must be an economic recovery that builds back better and stronger. It must be inclusive, but it must also be transformative. It must accelerate the participation of Black people in the economy, especially women and young people in all parts of our economy. It is important that we address these key issues. The issue of land is another important hunger that our people have also in the Eastern Cape. We must address it, and we must address it in a focused way. Premier Mabuyane, I'd like to thank you once again for your invitation to come and be present at the opening of your Lekgotla. And I wish you nothing but the best as you deliberate on the important issues of developing this province and lifting it up from where it is. And what I'd like to give you the assurance for is that I personally, as President of the Republic, will be willing, prepared, and able to work with you as we identify areas of intervention. I would like to assist you as much as I possibly can and get the national government as a whole to support you, to assist you, so that we can all reach our aspirations in the Eastern Cape. The Eastern Cape is far too important for us not to do so. And I intend to be there to assist as much as possible. I look forward to visiting the province soon. There are quite a number of places that you, Premier, and I discussed that I'd like to come and visit. So I look forward to brushing shoulders with you even during COVID, so that we can inject some energy into what we need to do in the province. Colleagues, I wish you fruitful engagements during this Lekgotla. Nithethe kakuhle, nivane ningalwi. Enkosi. Thank you.